1. And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special edition of the NAIA Ball Podcast. But we're live like we were a few weeks ago. We brought it back for one of the biggest shows of the year. We are going to be talking about the opening round, who's in, who's out as far as that large bids go. I am, of course, Tyler Norris, one half of the podcast team here. I'm joined by the entire staff here, co-host Taylor Thomas, VP and graphics man Connor Darnell, and president of NAIA Ball, Robbie Gutierrez. Welcome, everyone, in. It's going to be a very exciting night. Guys, I know we've had a lot of discussions internally on this one, and I think, I think we can say this on air with the viewers listening that, there's quite a few that we are going to be debating live on the air. So it's not clear-cut finished as we're sitting here talking to all you right now. There's definitely going to be some debates here as far as who's in, who's out.
Yeah, no question about it. I know all four of us have really kind of been on the phones really the last 24, 48 hours. A lot of those conference tournaments wrapped up yesterday, and a lot of these final decisions are still being made right now as we're now under 24 hours away from the selection. So releasing tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time. But we've been going back and forth really up until we jumped on this call here. And it's been a year of true parity. I know me and Tyler have discussed that on the podcast really all year long, week in and week out. We've seen a tremendous amounts of crazy results that has carried over into the postseason. It's going to carry over into the opening round as well. It's going to be a waiting game for us, and then a lot of these teams that are on the bubble right now up until they do or don't see their names called tomorrow.
Well, before we dive into everything here, I think it's a good time to call out now that you have about 24 hours left on the NAIA Ball team store. So go ahead and click that link that we dropped about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the YouTube chat. So everybody should see that, I hope. Go ahead and give that a click. Go and get your favorite NAIA Ball gear for the postseason. We are introducing the We Are Live shirts this time if you haven't seen it. So as Connor's repping proudly right now, go check out that link. You got 24 hours left. And as Robbie said on Spaces the other night, all these proceeds go directly to feeding all of us. So any support is greatly appreciated. We love feeling the love from everybody. So got 24 hours left on that. But I'll turn it over right now to, I imagine we'll start with Robbie. I know Connor probably doesn't have a speech prepared. So we'll kick it over to Robbie here from quick intro.
So, first and foremost, want to thank everybody for jumping in here and being part of what is my favorite show every year. It's one of those things that this is one of our favorite shows. This year is very unprecedented as we have different set of rules for selection this year that the committee is going to be looking at. So, there was a lot for us to consider. There were a lot of things that we couldn't use. We usually go off of historical data, what they've done in the past. The people in that room are the same people from last year for the most part, or from 2 years ago for the most part. And it's a different group. It's a different group because they've got to go off of different criteria, and it is totally, totally, totally different. So if you're jumping on and hoping we're going to play a little bit of bracketology, no, what I can tell you is we will be talking live and arguing out who our final team is. We've gone back and forth on that all day. They do a good job of not letting any information out from Kansas City. The only thing is one of those things that I could say is there's going to be a lot of surprises. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I feel really, really confident about the first 7 teams, and then it's just a black hole mystery from there on out. There's so many ways that you could go with this tournament. There's so many good teams around the nation. And while I've got all 258 of you in here, it's the best time to remind you that we don't have to do the tournament this way, and we can get rid of the automatic qualifier system and not have automatic qualifiers based on the number of teams that you have in your conference, which makes 0 sense. Maybe it works for some sports, but baseball so competitive that we are going to leave so many good teams at home. And if we had things the other way around, we would be talking about getting all of these teams in and then some. We'd be having more arguments about, 27 to 31 game winners instead of teams who won 32 to 38 games this season. So that's going to be the hard part. All of these teams have winning records. There's not one scenario where, like in the past, where we've had really tight stuff. Some 500 teams, things like that. All these teams have winning records. All these teams are worthy of being into the tournament, and they're all worthy of being here. So we're super excited to go over this with y'all and be part of this process. But before we do that, Connor, I think you're going to take us through a little bit of a look at what the team store looks like. You're going to give the people a look. I will say this. We are going to be doing special hats during the postseason that we are going to give away during our postseason coverage. And while we do that, we are going to give somebody who buys an item in our team store right now, we're going to give somebody a hat, one of those special hats, one of those hats that we are ordering only for this postseason. These are not for sale. These hats are limited run, limited edition. The only people that are going to have them is us and a couple of other people, but you are going to have to really take one of, buy this to get the opportunity to get this hat. Every item you buy will give you another entry into this raffle for the hats. So with that being said, Connor, I turn it over to you.
Yeah, so one of these days I'll learn how to not follow Robbie up because, he goes on his deal and he's kind of knows what he's talking about. But we'll take a quick look through our team store.
Depends on who you ask.
There you go. So this is our team store. We've talked about it quite a bit. We definitely want to show this off to you guys before time runs out. Lots of awesome stuff for the guys, for the girls. So if you're an NAIA baseball player out there, you got your girlfriend, go pick up your honey a nice little NAIA ball shirt and rep the brand. We've got some sweats, we've got some hoodies. You probably won't need it this time of year depending on where you're at, but there's all sorts of different opportunities. Pick up some swag, rep the brand out at the game. So look at that, nice little backpack. So go get your stuff before the team shop runs out. Got some Evo Shield stuff. Like, I know you guys want to get this. We get asked about this every single time, that we do something. So go get your stuff while you can. And before we get into this, I'm going to do this to you guys. I have got a piece of paper right here with some valuable information over the next 24 hours.
I wish you wouldn't do this.
I know this is going to be great. And I'm going to get DMs like crazy, so feel free to direct all your hate mail to Taylor Thomas. I always say that before we do this, but some very important information in the next 24 hours is in this piece of paper, and we will reveal this at the end of the show. So, no spoilers. Stay till the end of the show. Put some comments in the chat. Have a great time, and let's get after it.
I think this is probably, before we dive into this, is probably a good time to remind people that we have absolutely no say in what happens. This is just merely our opinions. So as strong as our opinions may be, we could come out tomorrow when everything's released and we could be 100% incorrect. So just wanted to put that out there before we get things rolling, because we might stir some feathers.
If we're 100% incorrect, not only will I close the count, I will call for everybody in that room to be fired immediately from all jobs they have if we're 100% wrong.
That'd be a first.
I tell you what, there are places in certain parts of the country, in certain parts of Iowa, that just got very excited at that opportunity that we might be 100% wrong. But I can tell you that we will not. We will not be 100% wrong. Do we want to look at any of these comments? I like some of these comments.
Let's go ahead and read off a couple comments, and then however you guys want to take it.
Denny Grubb is in here. Statman. Denny Grubb, World Series statistician. Faulkner is on the bubble. 100% they are a bubble team. We're going to get into that a little bit later. We also have, I need a shirt. Yep, you do need a shirt. Robert Matthew, 100% you should get a shirt. And then we just have somebody just repeating Texarkana. It's a really nice spelling job of Texarkana. Did not get that wrong one time. You must be from Texarkana to get that in. So yeah, that's all we're gonna get. That's a mess in there.
I love that one. It just says shirt for Coach G to wear with the cowboy hat. If you guys didn't watch our World Series watch along last year or listen along, you'll have to go back and check it out because it was a great time. Coach G joined us, had the cowboy hat out. It was a great time.
Robert Frey is in the chat as well. Still wonderful spelling of Texarkana.
Yeah, this feels very similar to the Freed Hardeman situation a couple years ago.
Oh man, boy. What a time to be alive! What a time to be alive!
Shout out Mark Jones.
All right, if we're just gonna sit here and spam, I mean, I'm all for it. It gets the engagement up. Oh man.
I'll tell you what. If we're ready to kind of start the process, Tyler, if you want to, or Tyler and Connor, if y'all are okay, we'll throw up the criteria and kind of walk everybody through that.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, Norris.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the criteria of who's in, who's out. This is not our criteria. Our criteria would be very different. But this is what this committee in Kansas City is looking at right now. So Connor, if you've got that up, I'm just waiting for it to come up on my cell phone.
Yeah, we got it here. And I will say all this information was pulled off the league's website. If there's anything looking wrong, like as in spelling, that's not on me. I know some people are dying to get that comment in the chat right now. This was straight copy and pasted, so don't yell at me. But yeah, this was all pulled from the league's website. And I think you guys got this up right now, or you might just be going off of what I got right now.
Yeah, no, I can see it on my phone. So what we're looking at is this, and this is what the criteria is. The primary criteria that they're going to go off of, first and foremost, without any weight or order, is going to be area rating, so the ARC. And then it's going to be bow chip, overall winning percentage, and quad record, as well as RPI. And the RPI takes 25% winning percentage, 50% opponent winning percentage, 25% opponents winning percentage. Secondary criteria, if they can't figure it out all in that first level, in no weight or order, is going to go to common opponents, conference record, head-to-head, and strength of schedule. Additional information considered: conference, non-conference, home, visitor, neutral, opponent's record, score, and team schedule. All of this, again, from the coach's corner on the league website. You'll notice that there is no versus top 25 this year. That was a huge one in previous seasons. That is what we use to make a lot of our decisions. And then as well, there is no coaches poll. There is no coaches poll. So the coaches poll is not in consideration here either. So I think that's going to be the really, really tough portion of, how do we go about this? Like I said, this is the first year of RPI, and this is the first year that we're doing all of this. And normally we're able to go off of, well, this is what they did last year, and this is what they did 2 years ago. And they normally go up to strength of schedule. And then there's always one team that's got a really weird strength of schedule that gets into the tournament. And then it just kind of goes from there. We're not able to do any of that this year. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what really works and how they go about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to figure out. I don't know. I say this every year, but I think this is the first time where it's like, if we went 8 for 15, I'd be super happy. And I'd be really, really thrilled on that. I don't think we're going to go 15 for 15. If we do, we all deserve a commendation. And then I think it's going to be really tough. So that's going to be the biggest thing, is I think it's going to be really tough to figure out everybody. I don't think it was easy for the people in that room in Kansas City. And I don't think that it's going to be one of those things where we really figure out what's happening in the long run of, just what it looks like overall. I think it's going to be tough. So before we get into the first couple of teams, the teams that we feel really confident about, and then the teams we feel kind of confident about, and then the teams we have zero confidence on. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all start. I'm not going to start. We're not going to start going over teams until we get 400 people in here. So we're still 30 away.
You heard the man. Share it with a teammate. Share it with the parent. Share it with your pet. Share it with your sugar mama. I don't know. Go share it with somebody. That way we can get to 400. So I love all the chats in here. Like I said, this is probably my favorite show of the year. We get to interact with everyone in the chat. See the live responses.
And with the uptick in burner accounts, I know you can share them with your burner accounts as well and get them in the team group chat. So we should be getting
one particular burner we're waiting for.
Oh, 100%. Also, if you guys are doing...
our favorite burner went away.
Yeah, I don't know if we could mention that name on...
We can't say the name, but our favorite burner did go away.
And our favorite burner was mentioned in some news stories last year, so you can probably find that out yourself.
Oh, man. Also, if you are sitting at the house with some teammates or sitting in the apartment, tweet us your views. Show us where you're watching from. We love to see that interaction on social medias. Tag us in whatever. Let's see here. We're getting there. 10 away. 10 away.
I will say the RRAC is getting a ton of love in the chat, and that is a conference we will discuss heavily on this show tonight because conference-wise, they've had a really, really good year.
Northwood closed so the RRAC could run.
That is true. The pride of Cedar Hill, Texas, not Joey McGuire.
All right, we actually got up to 405, but I'm going to let that ride for a minute so people don't just leave. Watching from Lewiston. Nice. Please first list the automatic qualifiers. Should we do that?
I was just about to say the same thing. We should give people a quick rundown of who's already in.
All right, so whenever you guys are ready, we're well over 400 now.
I've seen a couple call-outs in the chat already for teams that are already in, so
yeah. All right,
probably a good point to go over that.
Let's do it. All right, we will start with the AMC, and the qualifier from the AMC is Central Baptist. Out of the Appalachian Athletic Conference, the two qualifiers in that coming from the tournament champion and the runner-up are Bryan and Tennessee Wesleyan. Tennessee Wesleyan winning the tournament championship. Out of the CCC, the tournament champion was Lewis Clark State. Lewis Clark State is in by way of host into the opening round. So British Columbia is in as the representative for that conference. Out of the Chicago land, there's one team, and it is St. Ambrose, the tournament champion in the Continental Athletic Conference in the GGC Invitational. Georgia Gwinnett takes that spot as the tournament champion. In the Crossroads League, Taylor wins the tournament championship, but Indiana Wesleyan takes the second bid as well. Bellevue wins the Frontier Conference, but it wasn't without the all of Valley City State. Shout out to them. That was a fun one to watch there. They had them on the ropes as well in that first game. And then in the GSAC 1 bid is Hope International as well from the GPAC. The two teams from the GPAC are going to be both Concordia. It's going to be Concordia, Nebraska, and Doane as well. That was the regular season champion in Doane in the tournament, as well as winning the tournament champion, but Concordia, Nebraska via the runner-up. From the HBCU AC, it is Talladega who won that championship, as well as Huston Tillotson, making their first appearance in the tournament since the turn of the century, since 1996. The East Siders from Austin are back into the tournament in the modern era. In the Hart Conference, it is William Woods and Mount Mercy. In the KCAC, it'll be Kansas Wesleyan as well as Oklahoma Wesleyan. In the MSC, Cumberland's Kentucky is in as the tournament champion. In the RRAC, Texas A&M Victoria gets in by way of regular season championship, and LSU Shreveport is in as the tournament champ. In the RSC, Indiana Southeast is in, as well as Shawnee State. In the Sooner Athletic Conference, Texas Wesleyan and MacU are in as well. In the SSAC, Abraham Baldwin is in as the tournament runner-up, and Loyola is in as the tournament champion. Taylor, I believe Loyola, the lowest seed to win the tournament since like 2006.
Yes, that's correct. They had a couple one-run victories in that one, and were able to secure a really good ball game against ABAC, which is crazy to say that Loyola was a 6 seed too, Robbie.
The Milwaukee Beers are not in. I'm going to take care of that comment myself. And Justin, you're more than welcome to send me a trade for one of my many, many, many hurt players. It has been a terrible fantasy baseball year for me. In the Sun Conference, Southeastern is in as well. And then in the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference, Uno and Madonna are in. So it is been really, really fun. Those are all of your automatic qualifiers, 31 total automatic qualifiers into the national tournament already. And that leaves 15 spots. 14 of them we've kind of sort of decided on. I kind of feel really good about 7. If you notice, I did take off one green space in our sheet that looks like a rainbow just threw up all over it. And it's just terrible looking to look at, that you could only read if it was us. But I think that this is really, really going to be the toughest year ever for this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like I said earlier already, I mean, we've seen a crazy year. I know this is me and Tyler's 3rd year now with NAIA ball, but just confirming that thought with Robbie and Connor throughout the season. I mean, we've had Connor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 3 to 4 weeks of 20 plus upsets within top 25 teams to unranked teams. It's been truly unprecedented. The Tyler talks about it, but the rise of Indiana baseball has been really something to see this year. I mentioned the RRAC, and yeah, truly going to be one of the toughest years to decide these final spots. I know you said we feel good about 7, but like I said, we've been going back and forth really for the last 48 hours on who could be that last team in, who's the last team out, who deserves it, who doesn't, and who looks good in the eyes of the committee.
It was definitely something to watch too. I know we talked about it off air too, but it was really weird to see this year that the power conferences weren't really in control for most of the year. We saw conferences with teams in the WAC, teams in the Crossroads, teams that historically are not considered power conferences, kind of really show out this year. So that was kind of been interesting to watch all year long. We talk about the Sun Conference enough, but then the AAC with what it was. I know we said it was one of the most competitive conferences out there, but I think this was really the year of, quote unquote, the mid-major conferences of the NAIA, if you will.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and Connor before and say, yeah, 100%. This was the year of what we would quote unquote say are the mid, the year for the mid-major conferences. We saw a lot of the power team in the power conferences have a lot of low to mid 20 win seasons. They did not put out the years that we normally do. We did not see a single real power conference stand out. We saw some teams emerge in the AAC, but we did not see 5 or 6 teams. It was a really weird year for Reinhardt. They were really down. Brand new coach in that system, going away from a guy who has really shaped that program, and it's really tough to see. It was really weird to see that, because that was a team that hosted, last year. So that was one, and then on top of that, the Southern States, had some surprises, but it wasn't like, the 6th seed won that tournament. Now, Loyola has been a good team all season long. They've been in our top 25. They've been in the coaches poll top 25 until the very end. They probably needed that run to get into the tournament, to be totally frank with you, and they got that run that they needed to get into the tournament. So I think that there was a lot of interesting looks. The RRAC, outside of what LSUS did last year, the RRAC hasn't been very relevant. They haven't been very relevant, in a full look at things, and they've come back. They have not been that relevant since the 2012, 2013, 2014 seasons, when it was, like 2 or 3 teams that were super competitive. Texas Wesleyan was super competitive back there. Then Northwood was super competitive, and obviously LSU Shreveport. 2012, LSU Shreveport played for a national title and lost. 2011, LSU Shreveport plays for a national title and lost. So that was the hard part there. You've seen a lot. We did not see a season out of the GSAC. that we would normally see either. I think it was a tough year for the teams out west. There's some great baseball playing out west, but they're not, was not, what we want to see overall. It's going to be really, really crazy to figure out how we got that and where we're going with that. So, and again, I like to see this. Looking at the comments, like Nelson has 5 top 20 wins. That's not criteria. That's not criteria. Like that. Like that's not something that they're considering. That's not something that they're considering. So that's the hard part. You're going off of quads. You know what? Speaking of Nelson suffers because Wiley had to forfeit all those games, and so all of those what would have been quad 3 wins for Nelson go to quad 4, and then their bow chip and their RPI both suffer in that ranking. So the only team that anybody who played Wiley suffers, and Nelson's going to suffer because Wiley had to forfeit a bunch of games and automatically loses those. So guys, I mean, we've got 400 plus. If you're ready to go over who we think are we're really, really confident about, I'm ready to roll.
Let's get into it.
I think that's what everyone's here for.
I thought they were here for y'all. So these are the teams that we feel very confident about getting in. So congratulations to Johnson. I don't think we had any doubts that Johnson would be in. We actually think Johnson's going to be a 1 seed potentially somewhere, or at least I think that. But Johnson is in there as well. Second in the Eastern Arc, 7th RPI, 20th in RPI strength of schedule, 9th in the bow chip, 22 in bow chip SOS. In our combination RPI bow chip average, they're 8th. In our combination SOS average, they're 21st. 6-4 in quad 1, 15-6 in quad 2, 5-0 in quad 3, 9-2 in quad 4. Guys, there was never a doubt about Johnson.
Yeah, no question about it. And I'll just kind of reiterate what I've said almost every week on the podcast. Johnson has had an incredible turnaround. They've been in the top 5 really all year long. What Dave Serrano's done and the impact he's had in his 3rd year now is truly unprecedented. Getting to an opening round last year, they didn't have the conference tournament showing that they really wanted. You're in a conference with Milligan, obviously Bryan making their run, Tennessee Wesleyan as well. So 1 and 2 in the AAC tournament. Ultimately, we'll get Johnson an at-large bid instead of the AQ, but they won the regular season title. They were dominant in that conference all year long and outside of conference as well. Very, very well deserving. And this is a Johnson team that, if I'm their opponent in an opening round, wherever they are, it's going to be extremely tall task to take them down.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, I mean, this was the first team we all handpicked as, the clear-cut no-brainer. I mean, look at what they've done all year. This has been a solid team all year long. And then looking at what Coach Serrano's done since he took over the program there, it's been truly amazing to watch. And I have no doubt that, like Taylor just said, they didn't have the conference tournament showing that they wanted, but this is still a very good ball club and a very legit club that I think can cause some problems in an opening round. And I mean, they're obviously good enough to be, in our eyes, considered as a 1 seed coming out of an at-large pool. So, I mean, I think that in itself should speak for itself.
And let me correct myself before anyone else jumps on. That's Milligan that won the regular season title, but still a very, very tough conference to win. That's no question about it. That one's really, really been tough to kind of monitor throughout the year. But once again, another shout out to Milligan too.
So I guess we can go with that as our next team that we feel very confident is in, and that would be Milligan. Milligan is the other team that we are extremely confident that they are going to be in on. And so Milligan is in 40-13, 22-5 in conference. They are rated 7th in the Eastern Arc, 12th in the RPI, 58 in the RPI SOS, 12th in the bow chip, 69th in the bow chip strength of schedule, 12 in their average between the RPI and the bow chip, and a 63.5 strength of schedule average, 5-6 in quad 1, 14-4 in quad 2, 12-2 in quad 3, and 9-1 in quad 4.
Yeah, another one in the AAC too, and Milligan, like we said, really kind of under the radar for that conference, but they've had an incredible year, and we saw it in the the conference tournament as well as that final weekend of the regular season. They jumped 10 spots in the final coaches poll from 21 to number 11, taking down Johnson in the final weekend of the regular season, earning the 1 seed in the AAC tournament. Much like Johnson did not have the conference tournament showing that they wanted, but still were involved in some very, very good ball games. This Milligan rotation specifically, we get a lot of texts from coaches within the conference and a lot of the opponents that Milligan has had this year. That rotation is going to be scary in an opening round. The offense is really, really good. They had a couple big swings late to extend their run in Kingsport in the AAC tournament, but I think what is going to be the real thing to monitor for this Milligan Bus team is kind of the veteran leadership in their lineup as well as on the mound too. They have a 1-2-3 punch in the rotation that can give a lot of teams trouble wherever opening round that they go, but very well deserving for one of these at-large bids, no question about it.
Yeah, very clear cut here. As Taylor mentioned briefly, kind of flew under the radar a little bit. But, I think when a lot of teams in the middle of the polls kind of started to slip up, this was a team that really benefited it from jumping up. But, they jumped up to right where they belonged, in my opinion. This is a team that's done it all year long. And then in a conference like the AAC, with the emergence of teams like Johnson and then obviously Tennessee Westland's another team that comes to mind. Reinhardt in years past. That's a tough conference, man. So for Milligan to do what they did this year, 40-13 overall, that's impressive, and they are very deserving of a spot in the opener.
I've got an interesting concept. Since they didn't get like an automatic bid for winning the regular season, how many regular season champions do you think, or I guess in previous years, how many regular season champions have missed the postseason?
Have missed
the opening round.
I don't know if that's
ever happened.
Yeah,
somebody in the comments, I know you got a little bit of time. See if you can do some research. I know Denny Grubb's probably already on it, but there's your little fun fact of the thing.
That would be pretty much, that would be interesting. Denny Grubb might know that.
Just throwing out there food for thought.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, we continue. Yeah, are we good? Yeah.
Yeah.
We continue on with our third team that we would like to talk about here that we feel very confident in, and that is, of course, Missouri Baptist, 39-10, 24-4 in conference, third in the Midwestern ARC, 17th in the RPI, 113 RPI strength of schedule, 11th in the BOCHIP, 101 strength of schedule, 14th in the RPI BOCHIP average, 107 in the SOS average. 3-2, 8-4, 16-4, and 12-0 in their quads, respectively. Missouri Baptist is the third team in.
Yeah, much like the first two we talked about, really no question about this one. Missouri Baptist, once again, not having the conference tournament, showing that they would have liked. Crazy conference tournament at that in the heart. You had the 1 and 2 seed in that, and Missouri Baptist and Mount Mercy going at it in an elimination game that Mount Mercy was able to prevail in. But Missouri Baptist, especially with that offense, they've been consistent really all season long. They had one of the better showings back even at the Cajun Collision as well, I believe, going 3-1, and that one that only loss was to MACU. But Missouri Baptist took down LSU Shreveport to start the season in the Cajun, and they've really kind of stayed the course all season long, especially their first year in the Hart Conference. That was something we had our eye on in the preseason, is how this Missouri Baptist team would perform going over from the AMC to the Hart. And they really took care of business. Regular season champions there in that, obviously earning the 1 seed in the conference tournament. A really, really, really good offense. They've been able to produce in the opening round year in and year out, especially on the offensive side. It's going to be a team that is going to slug and slug quite a bit. Their pitching staff is really, really good. Tyler, with guys like Teague Robertson, who we've talked about all season long. Really, I do feel really strong about Missouri Baptist. Now, the question is, does Missouri Baptist get a potential 1 seed and have to travel somewhere, or do they get a 2 seed? Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards a 2, but definitely for sure in the field.
2.
Yeah, I was going to say definitely agree with a 2 just based on the field we're going to be looking at.
Yeah.
Probably going to be a 2. But Missouri Baptist, obviously didn't win their tournament. Still very deserving of an at-large bid with, their ARC rating, RPI, and BOCHIP. So it's a very clear-cut no-brainer as an at-large bid from the rest of the pool.
We move on to the fourth team in our selection series, and it is going to be Weber International. We have them getting in. We feel really good about Weber International, 37-17, 22-6, fifth in the Eastern Arc, which is the toughest arc in the nation. 5 on the RPI with a 4 strength of schedule, 16 in the bow chip with a 5 strength of schedule, 10.5 in the RPI bow chip average, and then a 4.5 on the SOS strength of schedule. 8-7, 13-8, 15-1, and 1-1 in quad 4. Guys, this is one that I think is definitely in. They get it in. Sun Conference was kind of up and down this year, but Weber International lost 3 of 4 in the opening weekend to Kaiser. Only lost 3 games the rest of the way in the regular season. This is not a tournament that you get in on just because you were good in one weekend. This is a tournament based off of it should be based off of what your entire body of work is.
Yeah, no doubt. And, we can get on our soapbox yet again. And it's crazy that the Sun Conference is just the one automatic bid going to the conference tournament champion. But you said everything right there that I was going to say, Robbie. Weber International starting off the year, dropping 3 of 4 to Kaiser, and then losing just 3 games the rest of the regular season in conference play. That speaks for itself. They were on an absolute heater. I believe it was 16 wins in a row. They had swept St. Thomas in a 4-game series. They had some tough non-conference matchups as well with teams like Bellevue making the trip down to Florida and Mount Mercy. Weber International has looked really, really good, really since the start of March. The offense is what I think is a top 10 offense in the country. They have really shown that throughout Sun Conference play. Didn't have the conference tournament showing that they want. That format is weird in the Sun Conference tournament. But I still think Weber International is very, very well deserving. I do think that this team is going to prove to have a lot of problems for wherever they go in the opening round. But very, very sure of a lock for the Weber International Warriors. First time in program history, too, that they won the Sun Conference regular season. So an incredible year from Colin Martin, who was the coach of the year in that conference in 2026. And looks like they're going to be back in the national tournament, and it's going to be a scary team to have to play against, no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely deserving of another at-large bid here. I mean, Weber International, you look at, the first month of the season, everyone had written them off from what I believe, I think was top 10 in the coaches poll, and I think somewhere in the top 15 in our first media poll, to completely falling out. So, I mean, it was kind of amazing to see what this team was able to do the rest of the year. They really turned it around, and, by the time here we sit in May, and I mean, they put together a better season. I think a lot of us thought they were going to put together, after the first month. So definitely very deserving of an at-large bid.
I'm checking comments right now, so.
Yeah, Connor, I can tell you're having a good time.
I'm reading these. I'm just making sure that everything's taken care of. Like, you guys are doing your thing. I'm gonna chime in, but I'm making sure we don't have any crazy comments. You guys are doing a good job so far. Don't disappoint me, or everyone in the chat is ineligible for that giveaway. Don't make me work a little bit more than I have to on this, but take it away, Robbie.
Very, very bland.
Very bland.
Very, 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 very bland.
Connor, oh my God. I'm getting some direct comments now, so take it away, Robbie.
I like that one. Connor, would you like to answer that one? I like that one. The next team in on our list that we feel very good about. Again, remember, these are in no order. But the next team that we feel very good about is going to be Louisiana Christian, 35-13, 19-8, 6 in the South Southern Arc, 18th in the RPI, 65 in the SOS, 20 in the bow chip, and 83rd in the bow chip SOS. When you look at their numbers together, 27th in the bow chip, 104th in the bow chip SOS, to make their average 22.5 on the RPI, and then 83.5 on the strength of schedule. 6-4 in quad 1, 7-8 in quad 2, 4-1 in quad 3, 24-2. That would be the most of any team we will talk about tonight in quad 4. That is, 13-0 in quad 4. The next team is 24-2. I need to highlight the right list here. But 13-0 in quad 4 kind of give you a hint on who the next team's going to be. If you've been looking at quads. But 22.5 on the RPI and BOCHIP average, 84.5 on the SOS. Go ahead and take it away. Louisiana Christian is in.
Yeah, a team that, after last weekend, they didn't have the really the best of three series in the Red River, kind of shook this thing up a lot. I know earlier in the week, going back to last week, there were a few questions about Louisiana Christian, but I think once this past week kind of played out, it's hard not to it's hard to keep them out, honestly, for what they did in the non-conference. Tyler, I believe they started out, what was it, 12, 13 and 1, had a bunch of top 25 wins at the time. They started off the year with a doubleheader sweep against MACU, had a really, really good showing at the Cajun Collision. I love this Louisiana Christian team. I love how their pitching rotation stacks up with guys like Cade Lynn, Brandon Carter coming over, a guy like Braden Truel there in the lineup. They are a really complete ball club. I think their pitching rotation is going to be really, really scary. Cade Lynn right now is still in the top 5 in the country in strikeouts. I know Brandon Carter's somewhere right behind him in the 90s range as well. So it's a staff that can really, really get after it. It's a lineup that's really, really good, 1 through 9. The pitching is going to be really good in wherever opening round that they go. And when you're competing in a conference week in and week out in the Red River, who we saw had an incredible season, they have some really good marquee wins, a lot of big-time marquee wins compared to the rest of this bubble field. But I feel very, very strongly about Louisiana Christian, and they're a team that I'm going to easily have my eye on wherever they go, because I think they could be a really scary club.
Definitely agree. And then, as Taylor mentioned, starting off the non-conference season extremely hot. You just look at the criteria that, at least what we know is going to be based off of for selections. And I mean, it's all there. The ARC's good, the RPI is good, BOCHIP's good. Louisiana Christian definitely in for me as well.
I'll speak on them a little bit. This is a team that we've kind of got to see the past few years over when we've been down to the Cajun, and just kind of seeing how they've built a program and, they've put it together this year. It's been pretty impressive. And, yeah, I think I said this last year, but I think they're going to go to this opening round and say, hey, baby, we're ready for some action. And I think I got them in. So that's a good one for me.
As well, they have a guy I think that's the team with a guy named Colton Williams, right?
Yes.
Second best Colton Williams to ever be in NAIA ball, and anybody who says that he's not the second best Colton Williams has no idea what they're talking about.
You're exactly right. If you know, you know.
That's crazy. You get named that, and you're gonna go play baseball, and you're like, wow, I have to live up to that.
I mean, we almost named it the Colton Williams Pitcher of the Year Award.
We did. We did.
Literally a conversation we had the moment Colton Williams graduated. The next team we're going to talk about is our sixth team on the list. Indiana Tech is the next team at 41-15, 24-5, third in the Northern Arc, 25 in the RPI, 84th in the SOS for RPI, 20th in the BOCHIP, 83rd in BOCHIP SOS, 22.5 is the RPI and BOCHIP average, 83.5 for SOS average. 6-4 in quad 1, 7-8 in quad 2, 4-1 in quad 3, 24-2 in quad 4. Guys, this was a team that started on fire. They came out and beat some really good ball clubs this year.
Yeah, and really starting it off there in the month of February, going down to Williamsburg, Kentucky, taking down the Cumberland's Patriots in a 3-game sweep. They also have a win over Tennessee Wesleyan in the non-conference, a win over Georgia Gwinnett in the non-conference. I mean, right there, those are three teams that a lot of people around the country would pick to make it back to Lewiston, back to the World Series. And Indiana Tech took them down and really, really opened our eyes early on in non-conference play. When you talk about how northern schools could compete with southern schools and the quote-unquote blue bloods at this level, Indiana Tech showed that they could really do that. I know we were watching that series, and they had really won that series against Cumberland's Kentucky in a multitude of ways. The back end of their bullpen is really good with a guy like Colton Leatherman, who I believe is up to 11 saves now already. But they seem to kind of piece things together in the lineup, on the mound, too. Really complete ball club. I definitely think they're well deserving to get in. The WAC tournament was crazy with the top 2 seeds going down on day 1. Indiana Tech ultimately fought their way back and forced the if necessary game in the WAC championship before falling to Madonna. Not going to fault them for that. I definitely think they have the complete body of work to get in. 41-15, that should get you in really every single time, especially with how much they challenge themselves in non-conference play. I mean, when you're going on the road to places like that with Cumberland's and Tennessee Wesleyan and Georgia Gwinnett and earning victories against those teams, you only strengthen your body of work. And Indiana Tech really took care of business when they got back up north. Really, really good ball club and a team that I'm going to have my eye on in the opening round.
Yeah, definitely the biggest story for Indiana Tech on the year was that sweep on the road at Cumberland's. That's a perfect example of a team scheduling non-conference hard, to better prep themselves for the rest of the season. But for me, you look at their arc, you look at the North region as a whole in the arc. The North has been absolutely loaded. Indiana baseball has been absolutely insane this year. So for Indiana Tech to be third in the North speaks for itself.
Yeah, I'd kind of just piggyback off that. This is a team that you kind of expect to be in the opening round. I know they had like a 2-year skid where they kind of missed that, but going back a couple years ago, they've made the opening round every year. They made a trip to the World Series back in 2019, so I'd say this is a pretty safe bet that I think Indiana Tech's in the opening round. So completely agree with all you guys.
Should we get on to the final team that we feel really confident is getting in this group of 15 teams that'll get at-large bids, and that team is going to be Huntington, 39-12, 27-9, fourth in the Northern Arc, 24th in the RPI, 99 SOS, 13th in the Bow Chip, 95th in their Bow Chip SOS, 18.5 in the RPI Bow Chip average, 97th in the SOS average, 7-6 in quad 1, 2-0 in quad 2, 16-4 in quad 3, 14-4 in quad 2.
Yeah, the Huntington Foresters have really had a resurgence this season, and I think you kind of have to start on the mound with this club. That rotation's really, really good. They have a freshman contributing in a big-time way in Max Engel. And going back to our big series of the week, starting out the month of March, we had it highlighted. It was Taylor going on the road to Huntington. Taylor was able to take those first two games. Game 1 was kind of a runaway. Game 2, Taylor gets a big swing late. And we kind of wondered how this Huntington team would respond. And boy, did they respond, splitting that series, winning the final 2 games of that series. And they really, really showed us a lot in that weekend. They got back into to Crossroads League play. They weren't able to obviously make the Crossroads League tournament championship, losing to Indiana Wesleyan, who's a really good ball club, opening round team in an auto bid. But the Huntington Foresters getting 3 teams in from the Crossroads League, I think, kind of speaks for how good the Crossroads League was. Me and Tyler had Coach Kyle Gould on a couple of weeks ago, and going into the final weekend of the regular season, it was down with Taylor and another Indiana team in Marion, and Coach Gould gave a really great answer on that. Taylor was 30-2 in the conference at the time, and they still had not clinched at least a share of the regular season conference title. Kind of speaks to how good the Crossroads League was this year. Huntington is a big reason for that. Despite not having the conference tournament showing that they would have won it, they still tied a single season record for program victories, 39 wins on the year. Really, really good ball club, and I still think that they're pretty much going to be a lock to make the field. And where they go, that's kind of up in the air. But you're 39-12 on the year, 27-9 in a really good Crossroads League for 2026 campaign. The Huntington Foresters definitely deserve it. And I'm excited to see just how this team can kind of continues this positive momentum.
Yeah, Taylor, I mean, me and you talked about it, seemingly all season long. This was a team we mentioned nearly every episode, and I mean, rightfully so. The full season they put together was quite amazing to see. We've talked about it before, the Crossroads League, historically it's Taylor really leading the charge there, Indiana Wesleyan as well. But you look at the season that Huntington did, and then even Marion to that matter too. It was really impressive, and the biggest test for them all year was going to be Taylor. That's why they were the big series of the week, and I mean, they really showed out. So Huntington, very deserving, in my opinion, of getting an at-large bid.
Go ahead, Robbie.
All right. Connor, anything?
I'm having to deal with some stuff. You go ahead.
Okay, we're moving on. So, into the next couple of set of teams. These teams are teams that we feel okay about. This is where we get into the lukewarm water. This is where the change in philosophy starts to haunt. I think, I was reading the comments at the very beginning before it got boring. It was basically well, we've got so many wins, and it's like, those things don't matter. Wins versus top 25, like that's not actual criteria. That's just not what the committee is looking for. So here is what we are going to be definitely looking at. Also, how bad is Shohei Ohtani to give up a home run to Brendan Shoemaker? How about that? So the next team in that we have is a regular. It's a big name. It's a team that we feel comfortable about, and it's going to be William Carey. William Carey is 35-18, 17-10 in conference play, 9th in the Eastern Arc, which means we're not done in the Eastern Arc. There will be more teams from the Eastern Arc getting into this tournament. Some will surprise you. 26th in the RPI, 49th in the RPI SOS, 31 in the Bo Chip, 30th in the Bo Chip SOS, 28.5 in the split, and 39.5 in the SOS average. 5-4, 5-8 in quad 2, 19-4, and 6-0. So it's basically going to be, William Carey. I've got William Carey in. Any thoughts on that?
I've been back and forth on it really for the past 48 hours, but I'd have to agree with you there. I think William Carey, despite not having the year that William Carey is kind of accustomed to and we're accustomed to seeing from this Crusaders team, I still think they've done enough throughout the course of this regular season, especially with the ARC rating in the East too, which is extremely tough. The Southern States, we've talked about it all year long, is really good. I mean, when you go down we were previewing the conference tournament, we can make a case for really the top 5 and 6 teams in that field to make a run and win the conference tournament. And we saw it with a 6 seed in Loyola making that one, taking down ABAC in the championship. But William Carey still 2-1 in the conference tournament. I think their ultimate body of work, even though it's a 35-18 record, I still think that it's enough to get them in. I do think that they're a club that kind of speaks for itself as far as postseason pedigree goes. And once they get in, they kind of know what it takes to win and get back to Lewiston. It's going to still be a scary team. We saw them kind of really emerge on the offensive side early on in the year. Bit of a downslide in the back half of the season, but like I just said, it's a really tough conference in the Southern States. I still feel really good about Williams Carey's chances. I would have them in as of right now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. William Carey, out of the pool would definitely be my next team in here. Taylor and Robbie, you guys talked about the ARC, how the East ARC is the toughest. So being able to be up in that top 10 there in the East is pretty good. So I feel confident about William Carey. Not as confident as, the first 7 we listed off, but definitely my next team in would be William Carey.
This is a team that, down the stretch, you'd be like, if they keep up the season that they were having, that they would be a host site. I'm sure they put in the host. I'm not sure what selection, how that process kind of went, but this is a team that I would have expected to host, as they've hosted the last 3 years. So this is a team that you kind of expect to be in the postseason. So I'd say it's a safe bet, but this is kind of where it gets fun, where it gets a little bit harder for us. So, but yeah, I'd say William Carey's almost a lock, I would say.
I'm going to skip around here, and I'm going to kind of go off schedule. The next team in that we have, and this is kind of unprecedented. This is not something we would see in a normal year, but we've got Marion in a 4th team from the Crossroads League getting into the tournament, 35-16, 27-9, 6th in the North, 23rd in the RPI, 37th in the SOS for the RPI, 26th in the Bo Chip, 32nd in the Bo Chip SOS, 24.5 is the RPI Bo Chip average, 34.5 is the SOS average. The one thing that stood out to me, guys, more than anything is 4-12 against quad 1. And Taylor, I know you have some more information on that, but they did go 8-1 against quad 2, 12-2 against quad 3, and 11-1 against quad 4. But they did not have the conference tournament that they would have wanted. But I think Marion's body of work and just the amount of spots and teams gets them in.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one. And, Tyler's going to hit on it as well. But the year that Indiana baseball has had, especially the Crossroads League, Marion is a team that has really upped the ante as far as just kind of how that state has performed this year. The Marion Knights are a really good ball club for anyone that hasn't really followed them. all year long. I mean, we've kind of seen it throughout the back half of the regular season, the run that they have been on, even starting out the regular season, going to Dayton, Tennessee, taking down Bryan in a 4-game sweep, who obviously made the AAC tournament championship and is an auto bid into the opening round. They have a win against Southeastern. They split with Huntington in the regular season. They hosted the Taylor Trojans in the last weekend of the Crossroads League regular season. Taylor still had to get just one win to secure the regular season conference title, which they ultimately did. But you mentioned the 4-12 quad one record. Three of those three losses were to Southeastern, obviously. Going down to Florida, they still picked up that one win. There's a really, really good club, honestly, and that Taylor series really could have gone either way. They won the first game of that Taylor series 17-6, and then they lost game 2 in 12 innings. They lost another game to Taylor in that series by 2 runs and then 3 runs, and then in the conference tournament got walked off again against Taylor 3-2. So when you talk about going against arguably the number 1 team in the country 5 straight times, they really, really held their own and even picked up one win against them, and all those ball games were close. So they've competed against some of these top teams in the entire country. They have a really good marquee wins in those matchups as well. This is a Marion club that had a huge resurgence, and it's guys that you kind of really wouldn't expect. One guy that I want to highlight for this team is a freshman. It's River Pacina. He led the Crossroads League with 19 homers as well. He's a really, really good player. And we kind of had a lot of questions at how this team would look in a 4-game set against Taylor. They got that series at home. I think they answered all of our questions in that one, despite not winning that series. I like what this club did all year long, and I think they're very well deserving of one of these at-large bids.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Marion, in my opinion, is very deserving of an at-large bid. It was very, very cool to see what they've done. I mean, if you know Indiana baseball at all, historically, Marion is not an upper echelon Crossroads League team. So this season they've been able to put together 35-16 overall. I mean, that's amazing for them to be able to do. The turnaround was impressive this year. You definitely want them to get in. I hope they get in. I think they're very deserving to get in. I think it becomes, is the committee going to take 4 Crossroads Leagues teams? I think that's going to be, the point of contention there. And another point of contention you could potentially see with Marion would be the 4-12 in quad one. They dominated in Q3 and Q4. But that quad one record could be a point of contention for the committee when selecting them. But for me, it really came down to, as far as, what we're surefire on between the Crossroads League. It was between Huntington and Marion. I gave that edge to Huntington, in my opinion, based on the arc, based on the quad one wins. But I definitely think Marion put together a good enough season to be able to make the opening round. It's just going to be whether or not the committee wants 4 Crossroads Leagues team in or not.
Robbie, historically, how many teams from this conference has gotten in off the top of your head?
2. Historically, 2. On a regular year, this would be exactly what it is. It's a 2-bid league. But we've seen really a rise out of Huntington in both Marion, and I think they both deserve to be in, or else we wouldn't be having this conversation. Obviously, there is no precedent for what is the new system. I mean, like I said, I think we get the first 7 right, and then after that, we could go over. But this is definitely. I think in our opinion, if we were in that room, Marion would be in. The next team I want to talk about is Oakland City, 39-13. I actually think Oakland City is going to be one of the last teams in. I actually think that they could be on that teeter-totter of in or out. But when you look at it, they're 5th in the North. If you're going to put Marion in, the arc has usually been the deciding factor in what teams get in, what teams are not in. If you're going to have Marion in, you got to have Oakland City in. 39-13, 21-6, 5th in the Northern Arc, 33rd in the RPI with a 137 strength of schedule. That is the highest strength of schedule on this list. 17th in the Bo Chip with a 123 strength of schedule, 25th in the RPI/Bo Chip average, and then 130 is the SOS. It is the highest strength of schedule by at least 23 spots on this list, maybe 20. 3-4 in quad 1, 4-5 in quad 2, but 16-3, 16-0. They got to the semis. It's really one of those teams that we think is going to be in because of the season-long body of work and not just the previous weekend. But I think that they are either the last team in or one of the two first teams out.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that placement on Oakland City. If you asked me last night, I probably wouldn't say that Oakland City would be in, but just having some more conversations today amongst us and then people outside that we trust, I do kind of am leaning towards the Oakland City getting in as one of those final couple of spots. Like you said, it's a great point in the arc. If you're going to put Marion in, who's 6 in the North, usually you would have to think that a team above them is going to get in if they're ranked ahead of them in the North Arc, which Oakland City is. 21-6 in conference, obviously getting the 2 seed in the conference tournament, a team that IU Southeast that ended up winning the conference tournament as well as the regular season. I do like Oakland City's chances. I mean, you win 39 games, you're 39-13 against what some people might say is kind of a weaker schedule, but still, I mean, I think they kind of challenge themselves a little bit in non-conference. And when you win 39 games, no matter who it's against, it's always going to be a tough task when you're winning basically 3 of 4 games every single time at that 74% winning percentage. I like Oakland City. I think it's going to be a very long wait for them until that selection show releases tomorrow. But right now, we're sitting on here on May 5th at 8:01 p.m. Central Time. I do think Oakland City would be one of those last teams in. But like you said, Ravi, after these first 7 that we named off that we feel pretty strongly about, we could still go over on these final couple of spots. But right now, I still am leaning a little bit more towards Oakland City being in the field. And I think just looking at the body of work and their metrics, I think they're well deserving of it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. You look at the metrics, it's definitely there. And then, like you said, if you put a team like Marion in, you have to put Oakland City in as well, being, one spot above them in the arc. But, the strength of schedule is a little concerning. Definitely one of the lowest we'll see in the field tonight. So, that could be a point of contention, but it's going to boil down to, if Marion goes in, then Oakland City has to be in. And, I think there's enough here to justify letting Oakland City in as well.
Here's something I was kind of thinking of in years past, and I know it's kind of like a new format since the top 25 isn't, considered criteria anymore. But in previous years, some teams have had a pretty record and the strength of schedule haven't been there, and they've gotten in. So I will be curious to see, how they approach this. Does that 39 wins kind of stand up a little bit more? You still got to go out and win 39 games regardless of the strength of schedule, but I'll be curious to see how they kind of approach that going into this year.
We hear that a lot. We hear from coaches, strength of schedule, strength of schedule, strength of schedule, strength of schedule, and then we don't always see it on the back end. Of course, that's secondary criteria, but it does, it does look at basically one of the opportunities for Oakland City. I think they're in. But I think that they're like the last team in. This one is one of the 2 more controversial takes we will have. I think one of the 3 more controversial takes we will have. And that controversial take that we will have will be St. Thomas into the national tournament. St. Thomas is in at 30-23. They are 10th in the Eastern Arc, 20th in the RPI, number 1 RPI strength of schedule in the nation. 46th in the BOCHIP, number 2 strength of schedule in the BOCHIP. That would come out to a total of 33 on the RPI BOCHIP average and a 1.5 strength of schedule average. Man, they did not have a good time against quad 1 teams. 2-12 against quad 1 teams, 13-7 against quad 2, 12-4 against quad 3, 3-1 against quad 4. Taylor, we went back and forth on this one for who would be how you get St. Thomas in. They've played the best schedule in the nation, bar none. But you've said it again and again and again and again. Do you continue to reward losses? At this.
Yeah, and I think if St. Thomas gets in, I do think it's the fact that they made the Sun Conference Tournament Championship. Now, how that format is set up, I kind of talked about it with Weber. Just a little weird to be able to follow, but still, they took care of business. They had some good wins there in Fort Myers, and you mentioned the strength of schedule. But 2-12 in quad 1 is going to raise a lot of questions if they're in the field. I think talent-wise, we can all agree with this. St. Thomas has some of the best talent and from anyone that's on this bubble that we'll talk about tonight. But still 30-23 overall. You're still 7 games over 500 in that, but you're 13-15 in Sun Conference play. I mentioned the sweep against Weber in the regular season, but I obviously Weber's a lock, but still, I mean, like you just said, when do you kind of stop rewarding the good losses and ultimately have to judge them on if they've won those games or not? They got swept, obviously, to start the year against Taylor. They took 3 of 4 from Loyola the following weekend. I think their pitching rotation is really, really good. They had the Sun Conference Pitcher of the Year in Ismael Cordoba. It's a team talent-wise that is definitely a national tournament team. But the metrics are there's gonna be a lot of questions raised from teams that are kind of left out of the field should the Bobcats get in. I've said it already, but talent-wise, they are definitely a national tournament team. But it's going to be interesting to see what the committee kind of values with them. Like I said, with the toughest strength of schedule in the entire country, and RPI sitting at 20, and then obviously the Bo Chip at 46, and the Bo Chip SOS at 2 as well. They've really challenged themselves more than any other team in the entire country. And then obviously doing that outside of Sun Conference play, you have multiple opportunities in your conference regular season to stack quad 1 victories. They've proven they can compete with the best. But right now, that record probably isn't as pretty to the teams that are outside of that region. I still like St. Thomas in right now. I think it's going to be hard to say, oh, you have the team with the #1 strength of schedule in the country, but you're not going to let them in. Well, what is the argument back from that coaching staff there in Miami Gardens? I still think that they are in, but like a lot of these final couple of teams that we're about to discuss, it's going to be a long wait until 4 p.m. Central Time for them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at St. Thomas, obviously not the prettiest record in the field, 30-23, but I think if St. Thomas wins 5 more games this year, this isn't really a debate as much as it has been. But, we think back to last year. Now, granted, yes, we're looking at, it's going to be a little different this year, but what comes to mind immediately is Ave Maria getting in and how big of an issue that was for everybody there. But, I mean, we're kind of looking at a very similar situation here, just based on the strength of schedule. And like Taylor just said, at what point, you got to kind of value strength of schedule here. And, with playing the toughest schedule in the country and coming out above 500, granted, not the prettiest record they want or that they could have had. But, I think this is definitely a team that is opening round worthy. The talent's there, like we've said all year long. It's just a matter of they haven't been able to put together, a continuous string of good ball games all year long. So, but I feel like you kind of have to reward the strength of schedule here. So I like them in. I think they should get in. But if they don't, it's going to come down to, 1, the record, and then 2, the quad one record of 2-12. That's not what you want to see.
I think that this is going to be one of the really controversial ones. I know my phone has blown up with text. Shout out to Ivan about this one. It's going to be really interesting, but I think that there are going to be some people in that room who are going to look at that strength of schedule and put that in. It feels like every year we've got one team whose strength of schedule, one team we're kind of like, what the heck? I will say this.
The Robbie freeze for you guys.
Look at the comments earlier, and I did see one. Oh, did I? Are we good
You're
now?
cutting out a little bit.
You just froze for like 5 seconds. If somebody wants to clip that and post that on Twitter, be my guest.
I'm connected to a McDonald's Walmart Wi-Fi. That's all we have here in Deep South Texas. So anyway, somebody called Taylor Thomas the smartest man in NAIA ball, and I 100% agree. And I think everybody here would agree that Taylor Thomas is the smartest man in NAIA ball. And Taylor, I'll say this: it would never have worked out. That show with you and Cody would never have worked out because y'all would have both been arguing on who was on who was smarter. So
you're 100% right.
It would have never, that show that you and Cody would have done would have never worked out.
That thing would have been like 6 hours long of just stats.
Oh, it would have been 6 hours long, just rattling off every single player who plays for St. Mary, Kansas, and what their average is. So I think that definitely, that's 100% right. I don't think there's anybody that really works as hard at this as you do. So we're really thrilled that you're here. And Tyler, that doesn't mean that you suck. It just means that
I can't ramble off lineups from 3 years ago in perfection, and I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, dude, he's really, really good at it. So Shall we go into and create more drama with our next one? Connor, I'm highlighting the one I'm thinking about. If you agree, go ahead and just say what you think there.
Let's see here. I'm waiting for it to come through on my end.
Number 14.
Let it rip. Let's yeah, let it go. Let's see how this goes.
Awesome. The next team we have in at a record of 30-22 are the Eagles from Faulkner. A bounce back season for the Eagles. They didn't have the best time in the ARC overall. They didn't have the best time in the SSAC either. They were up and down dealing with a lot of injuries. This is a really good ball club when they're healthy. 11th in the Eastern ARC, 34th in the RPI, 16th in the SOS, 47th in the Bow Chip, 12th in the Bow Chip SOS. When it comes to RPI Bow Chip average, this is a bad one. This is 40.5. It's going to be the highest one on this list until we get into the final couple of teams here. But that strength of schedule is 14. Again, all season long, we have nothing to talk about with this team when it comes to just over and over and over with these coaches. But it's SOS, SOS, SOS. There are not many teams that we are keeping off of this list that are 7-7 in quad 1, 14-5 in quad 2, 6-9 in quad 3, and 3-1 in quad 4. There's actually only one other team on this list who has more than 7 wins for that 15th spot. So that is going to be really, really interesting. But we've got Faulkner as one of those teams who could be in, could be out. If we were selecting the tournament, this is the way that we would go in order to try to get the best team in. But I think that's really, really interesting. I think when they're a fully healthy team, they're a really good ball club, but you got to look at the full season of work. So I could see a case for them, and I could see a case against them, and it could go either way.
Before Taylor jumps in, shouldn't we talk about, it's crazy how they only won 2 games last year, and now here they are.
I mean, what a turnaround. What a turnaround.
I knew that was going to get brought up.
Taylor, I'll let you have it.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there at the end, Robbie. You can make a case for them and you can make a case against them based off of really their entire regular season. And then going back to the start of the year, really, you have 2 victories against Weber, winning that series 2 of 3. Then you take down Kaiser, take down Indiana Wesleyan, Kaiser and Indiana Wesleyan twice at that in the 3-teamer at Harrison Field in Montgomery. You have a series split with IU Southeast. Then, like you said, Robbie, middle of the year, they got bit by the injury bug quite a bit, and we kind of didn't really know how this was going to look in the back half of the regular season, but they're able to get healthy at the end of the regular season. They sweep Loyola to end it. Improve their seeding in the SSAC tournament. Loyola obviously goes on to win the SSAC tournament, but Faulkner takes down Mobile, Bruton Parker, and then loses a 1-run game to ABAC. That was the de facto play-in game for one of those automatic bids to the opening round. So if Faulkner gets another big swing in that game against ABAC, you're obviously not talking about Faulkner right now as a team that's on the bubble, but 30-22 overall. They've really kind of gotten healthy at the right time. Obviously, I mentioned the slide that they had after a really good start and climbing a lot of these poles, but they challenged themselves like they kind of do all year long. Obviously, that Weber series and non-conference stands out, and then just taking down teams like Kaiser, Indiana Wesleyan, and IU Southeast. Like I said earlier with St. Thomas and Oakland City, if you asked me yesterday, I don't know that I would say Faulkner gets in, but kind of thinking about it a little bit more, I like the Eagles' chances right now. And I think this is a team that if they get in, they can be dangerous because, like you said, Robbie, bit by the injury bug a lot in the middle of the year. They had a really big downside, which kind of contributes to that 30-22 record overall. But you're 11th in the East right now in the Eastern ARC, which is obviously extremely, extremely tough. 34 RPI, and then the Bow Chip SOS is what really stands out at 12. And then the 7 quad 1 victories, who outside of a few teams on this bubble conversation have the most quad 1 victories at that too. I think Faulkner has really competed in one of the toughest conferences in the entire country and really wasn't at full strength for a majority of that. But the back half of the regular season, especially these last 2 weeks, they're playing like a tournament team. I would probably take them in right now. I do think that if they are to get in, they are one of those final couple of spots. But the Faulkner Eagles right now back in the national tournament, it kind of feels right, honestly, especially in a tough conference like the Southern States. just kind of getting healthy at the right time, but still going to be a long wait for them going into tomorrow. I do think that they really, really helped their chances out over these final 2 to 3 weeks of the season, as well as in the conference tournament.
Definitely like Faulkner's chances to get in, but Taylor, like you just said, I think they're one of the last teams in if they get in. And I think it's going to boil down to that strength of schedule of, the 14th on average between Bow Chip and RPI, then the 7 quad 1 wins. Definitely a little bit prettier there, but, not the prettiest overall record, but I think definitely a team, like you said, bitten by the injury bug early, getting healthy at the right time. If they get in, this could be a team that's primed and ready to make some noise.
I like to say, this. I think I like the angles that you guys are going, but this is kind of a team that you expect to be in the postseason. They've had some years where they're kind of down, but they still show some signs that they're making a push for the postseason. But yeah, this is kind of a team that you kind of expect to be in the opening round. I can't wait to play bracketology tomorrow and where I would place them. But yeah, I think I feel pretty good about this, and I'll be curious to see what they do with this.
So who does that leave left in consideration for us? In no order consideration left is Ottawa, Arizona, Ottawa, Kansas, Freed, Hardeman, Our Lady of the Lake, LSU, Alexandria, Morningside, Columbia, Nelson, and Kaiser would be the teams that we are looking at. Guys, Texarkana had a good run in the RRAC, but would you put Texarkana in front of either OLU or LSUA, knowing that in the arc of things there, Texarkana's 13th behind Wayland Baptist, Huston Tillotson, and Talladega?
I do think that they had a really, really good run in the RRAC tournament, obviously getting to the championship game, which anyone listening or watching, if you did not see the ending of how Texarkana got themselves into that championship game, please go back on our socials and find it. It was just absolutely incredible. And I put out a tweet kind of depicted, how the season has gone this far. One of the most wild endings I've seen really at this level of baseball in quite some time. But to answer the question, no, I don't think that they would still, despite how they performed in the conference tournament. You mentioned the teams that they're behind in that arc too. A team like Wayland Baptist and HTU, I definitely have a stronger case and a stronger feeling for both OLU and even if we're going to talk about them here at some point, LSU Alexandria is ahead of them in the arc as well. A team that's also in their conference. Texarkana took them down to advance to the final site, but just overall body of work, I don't know that you can reward that just for a couple of weeks that they've played well to end this regular season.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have Texarkana in either. I mean, it looks nice making it that far in the Red River Conference, but I mean, you talk about, Taylor, like you just said, being behind HTU in the ARC rating, where if HTU didn't get the automatic qualifier, they're not even in discussion. So for me, it's pretty clear cut. I don't think Texarkana's in the conversation.
And then the other thing is that we're starting to look at both the South and the Eastern arcs. In the South, LSUA is 7th, Our Lady of the Lake is 8th. Then you also have Nelson at 9th behind both of them. And then you've got Freed Hardeman at 12, Kaiser at 13th. Both of them, I mean, you usually could see a 13 team from the Eastern Arc, what used to be the Southeastern Arc, but from the Eastern Arc, I don't know how deep it's going to get. You also have Ottawa, Kansas at 9th in the Midwest, Morningside at 10th in the Midwest, Columbia at 11th in the Midwest. So that's going to be interesting. Ottawa, Arizona, 5th in the West. Is it that the West was bad, or there are just less teams in the West now with all the school closures as well? The CalPAC has basically folded. It is really, really been interesting to see, how all of that has shaken out. Guys, there's 3 spots left. I'm going to go over 2 at one time. Again, unprecedented in what we're seeing with this here. But the RRAC is going to get, 4 teams into this tournament. And we feel pretty confident, or not confident, but we feel somewhat comfortable about both Our Lady of the Lake and LSUA getting in. And so it's really, really, really interesting to see, because 34 and 18 for Our Lady of the Lake, 33 and 15 for LSUA. Our Lady of the Lake 8th in the South, LSUA 7th in the North, 21st in the RPI for Our Lady of the Lake, 27th in the SOS, 27th in the RPI for LSUA, 92nd in the SOS. There are some really tough SOSs here. And then the total difference in the bow chip for Our Lady of Lake, 41, from 21 in the RPI to 41 in the bow chip, 72 in the SOS, 128 for LSUA with a 35 bow chip. Both of them averaging out to a 31 RPI bow chip average. A better strength of schedule for Our Lady of Lake at 49.5, LSUA 110, Our Lady of Lake 6-8 in quad one, LSUA 7-7 in quad one. I mean, this is pretty much tough for, the last couple of spots. You're looking at some really good ball clubs who are going to get left out. This is the first time in a long time where it's not like, we're not picking on 500. We got to choose a 500 team. Like, there's some really good 30-win ball clubs that are going to get left out here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, when you look at just other teams in contention, not going to name all of them off at the moment, but teams with, like you said, Robbie, 30, 35 wins, even some cases pushing 40 wins on their year or two. And the discussion just between LSUA and Our Lady of the Lake, it's really, really tough right there. You mentioned the RPI and bow chip averages is even at that too. Just kind of crazy to kind of see how that averages out. I mean, LSUA has had a really good year. They have a lot of marquee victories, wins over William Carey, obviously, Louisiana Christian as well to end the regular season. Obviously, they get bounced in that best of 3 series against Texarkana. Our Lady of the Lake actually advanced to the final site, winning back-to-back games on the road in Pineville against Louisiana Christian. So you can make a case for just kind of how these teams have played, especially the back half of the regular season. But it really, really does even out. And I think it's going to be a really, really tough decision in the eyes of the committee on if we're picking between the final 2 spots and it being one team to get, or 2 teams in contention for that final spot that are in the same conference that have played against each other as well. Where do you kind of draw the line, honestly? Because the 33-15 record for the Generals, 34-18 for Olu. Really, really good years by both of them. I think there's, much like you said with Faulkner, there is a case for both of these teams to be in. You could also make a case for both of these teams to not be in as well. Really, really tough decision when it comes down to it. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, but this year has kind of been unprecedented, kind of been the hardest to kind of decide these final couple of spots. And I think 2 teams within the same conference in Our Lady of the Lake and LSUA fall into that category.
Yeah, this has been the weirdest year for us. I mean, not only did we have kind of the rise of a lot of the mid-major conferences, but the playing field kind of evened out. We don't have a team that's like far and ahead of everybody else like we've had in previous seasons. And then on top of that, it's going to be something that, when you look at it, like, there's so many teams in here that are like, yeah, it's possible they could be in. Yeah, it's possible they could be out. Like, I can see why they're in. I can see why they're out. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's been a tough one here. And we're really, 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 like, when I say that we might go 7 or 8 for 15 this year, this is the year that we do it. We've always been 85% plus, 13 of 15, 12 of 15, 14 of 15, 15 of 15. So it's one of those things that this is the first year where I feel like we're going to be off. It's a new process. It's a bunch of new teams, and it's really, 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 really going to be difficult. I mean, especially this last spot that we're about to talk about. I don't feel confident in anything maybe after number 8, the 8th team that we went over. If William Carey was the 8th team, I don't feel super comfortable about any of that. I do kind of feel comfortable about Marion. I think that it is kind of unprecedented that the Crossroads League would get 4 teams, but I don't think that it's unheard of to see that. Usually it's the Sun Conference that we're talking about in that realm, and it's not, with the conversation that we're having this year. Kaiser, you could make a case for them. You can make a case against them. You can make a case for Freed-Hardeman. You can make a case for Ottawa. Just going off of what has done. We do a lot of this on historical information. Usually the ARC is kind of the final trump card. The way that they position the ARC is the way that they're positioning the teams. They go, is the 3rd team in the North better than the 10th team in the East? Is the 9th team in the East better than the 5th team in the North? It's one of those things where you're trying to play matchups. The hard part is you don't, a lot of these coaches are all playing at the same time. They don't get to see each other. So with that, guys, we come to the 15th and final spot. I mean, we're going to debate this live on air. I would say it could go a couple of ways. You could talk about Ottawa, Kansas is 38-14, ninth in the Midwest, 48th in the RPI, 30th in the Bow Chip, but they would have the highest strength of schedule, even higher than Oakland City by almost 30 spots. Their average would be 159. Their strength of schedule in the RPI is 166. Their strength of schedule in the Bow Chip is 155. They went 1-2 in quad one. I don't think you can talk about Columbia. I mean, we could be totally wrong, but Columbia had one game in quad one all year long as well. There is Morningside went 1-5. Nelson went 6-6. Nelson's got some great wins. Kaiser 8-9 against quad one. Strength of schedule doesn't do them any justice. 100 on the RPI SOS, 108 on the Bow Chip SOS. 39.5 in the RPI Bow Chip average would be really, really tough. So that would be a tough one. If you're looking at average RPI and Bow Chip and where it would make sense, Ottawa, Kansas at 39, Freed Hardeman at 37.5. Yeah, I could see OUAZ getting in, and it sounds stupid, but OUAZ getting in on the basis of you can't just have 4 West Coast teams. You need another West Coast team. I could see that could be a conversation. I'm not even joking. That could be a conversation that's being had. Hence why we need to stop doing the automatic qualifier bids. So, I think that it would be one of those things. I don't know about Morningside would be tough. 98.5 SOS, 44 on the Bow Chip RPI slot. I mean, any thoughts on who y'all would go with for this last spot here?
I'm gonna answer it, but I still think I'm gonna debate my answer up until we kind of see the field officially tomorrow afternoon. If it's me, if I'm picking the last team, it's going to be either Ottawa, Arizona, Kaiser, or Freed Hardeman. Man, it's really tough. I'm gonna go Kaiser out of those 3, honestly, Robbie. When I look at all the 3 teams that I just mentioned too, they have a pretty high RPI strength of schedule, and then obviously Bow Chip is pretty similar throughout. Kaiser at 40, Freed Hardeman at 38, Ottawa, Arizona at 42. I think Kaiser has marquee wins. Now, do they have more opportunities to have marquee wins in a conference like the Sun Conference? Absolutely, compared to the Mid-South and obviously the GSAC as well. Ottawa, Arizona's had a really good year. I think a lot of our media polls this year, they've been team either 26, 27, or 28, right there on the cusp of breaking in. I feel like that's more than likely was the same for a lot of the coaches' polls throughout the entire year, all season long. But I think Kaiser has a stronger case than the others. Obviously, we talked about the Eastern Arc all episode long. They're 13th in the Eastern Arc, which isn't necessarily great, but is the 13th team in the East better than the 5th team in the West or 12th in the East as well? Freed Hardeman has a case too in the Mid-South, but obviously 0-2 in the conference tournament doesn't help their case really much at all. They're 2-8 in Quad 1. Kaiser has 8 wins in Quad 1. Obviously, a lot more opportunities to earn Quad 1 victories, but I think for me, it's the amount of Quad 1 victories that they have. They have more than teams like LSUA, Faulkner, Our Lady of the Lake, teams that we feel a little bit more confident about than we feel about Kaiser right now. That's why I'm going to lean Kaiser. They do have a lot more opportunities to stack good wins. They've done so. Talented ball club. I do think that if they do get in, they're the last team in for me.
Yeah, 13th in the Eastern Arc in the latest update. You would have them jump in Freed Hardeman. I could see the case for it. Obviously, I'm kind of hard for me to speak for or against it as a Kaiser grad. So that's a tough one. But Taylor, Tyler, open it up to you on any thoughts on what Taylor said.
I mean, I agree. This last spot's tough because we're talking about teams all over 30 wins. I mean, every single program here that we've listed off has had phenomenal years. So this is where it gets tough. And like we've said, this is, probably the toughest one we've had. And I know we say that every year, but this is where it gets hard. You got, how many? 7 teams here, 30 plus wins. So, I mean, it's tough. And then I want to lean Kaiser too, man, but it's like, what is the committee going to do? Like, are they going to allow Kaiser, who's 1 spot behind Freed Hardeman in the Arc, are they going to reward that because of the better Quad 1 wins? Or are they going to favor, more so on the Arc, where then, you might give the nod to Freed Hardeman? regardless, I think I really think it's probably going to boil down to Freed Hardeman or Kaiser. But based on what Taylor said too, I completely agree. I think I'd probably lean more so on Kaiser just based on those quad one wins.
Connor, thoughts?
You know, there's a couple different cases you could make for this. I kind of hinted at it earlier. You know, is there a case for every one of these teams? Absolutely. Ottawa, Kansas has 38 wins. Previous years, you know, some people don't have the hardest strength of schedule, and they've kind of liked the pretty record. So is 38 wins with that big of a strength of schedule, is that going to be enough to put them in, depending on what the committee, you know, looks at? Freed Hardeman's got another good case. Columbia, you know, I kind of talked about it earlier. When was the last time a regular season champion, regardless, didn't make the postseason? So that's another interesting angle. Kaiser's got a case. You know, Sun Conference gets one bid, they get one AQ, but you know they're used to getting 3 to 4 bids or 3 to 4 people in from that conference. So, I mean, everyone's got a case. This is what makes it fun. This is why people tune into this. You know, who's going to get that last spot? I think this is a toss-up. I mean, some people have stronger cases, but with it being such a different year, you know, I'd say this is a toss-up. I'm really curious to see how the committee takes this information and see whose case, you know, matters more, I guess.
You know, I think something we could bring to light here. I think, you know, when we talk about Ottawa, Connor, you mentioned 38 wins, you know, any other year that's a surefire lock in. I think what's kind of hesitant here with the Braves is that they have the weakest strength of schedule left in the field. But I don't think we're having this conversation with them as being a last team in if they don't go 0-2 in the KCAC tournament when the KCAC was incredibly down this year. 38-14 record, you would expect a team like that to go in and handle business, and they didn't. I mean, but that I don't know if you can necessarily penalize them for that, but you know, it's tough. I think if they win at least one game in the KCAC tournament, they're probably replacing one of the teams we've already talked about.
And that's something I'm kind of curious to see, you know, how much are they going to factor in like the last week of the season? How much are they going to factor in conference tournament? Are they going to reward the pretty schedule? Are they going to reward the full body of work? Or is it just going to be how they've been playing lately? Freed Hardeman, I don't think it was last year, maybe the year before, but they didn't win a game for, what was it, a month? And they snuck in? They were literally the last team in. They didn't win a game for a month. So, you know, I don't think they should punish, you know, a poor performance. I mean, 0-2 in the KCAC tournament's not ideal. And I think people should look at the overall body of work. I mean, that's why you play the games regardless. But I think that's a good factor. I mean, obviously the arc and all that fun stuff. But, yeah, a lot of stuff up in the air for me.
I could see them removing LSUA and putting Ottawa, Kansas, and Freed Hardeman into the tournament. I could see them getting rid of LSUA or Our Lady of the Lake and putting OUAZ and Kaiser into the tournament. I could see them doing the politically correct move and adding the 5th West team. I could see them putting Freed Hardeman, who I think would be interesting to get in. They've got the lowest remaining RPI/bow chip. They've got the lowest remaining strength of schedule. All of these teams that we're talking about left all have strength of schedules over 100 or at 98.5 in Morningside. But at the same time, Freed Hardeman 2-8 against quad one. But you have some examples like St. Thomas 2-12 in quad one. You know, some of these names do carry water, and that's the thing. And we're going to a different format next year, to where we're going to have ADs and, you know, we're going to have ADs and conference commissioners do it. And again, I've said again and again and again and again, it's not, some of them are very baseball forward and some of them aren't. This could be really good, it could be really bad. I will say this, when we were putting out the information, the RPI and RPI SOS that were released to the public were different from the RPI and RPI SOS that were inside of the quads. They weren't far off, but they were different. When we were doing our information earlier today, they basically were not the same. It wasn't like they were totally off, but the information was different. So that's something that is to keep in mind and to consider. We don't know which RPI and RPI SOS was actually the one that the league considered, whether it was the file named hopefully final or copy and paste. So that's going to be really, really interesting to look at as well. You know, this is the first time that those guys in this room have had to use this format. This is brand new for them, and it's going to be really interesting. I'm probably going to lean. I just don't see a way where they don't get another team from the West Coast in. I think OUAZ could be it, but their strength of schedule is kind of, I mean, it's really tough. Their RPI is not great. It could be Nelson. I mean, you could make a case for any of these teams really, and go in that direction. Do we want to come up with a consensus final pick, or do we just want to leave it open?
I think we should do a fan vote on Twitter. I think we should leave it up to discussion on Twitter. I know that's like a situation for disaster, but I know there'd be some great comments. But yeah, Robbie, we could do one on here. I wanted to throw that out there before we got too busy, and yeah.
Number wise, it's not a bad idea.
I mean, honestly, I would. What the hell? I would. I would. Leave it up to the fans. Last team in. Here's 100 different options.
Yeah, we'll put a poll up, I guess, or something.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a chance. I mean, Our Lady Lake and LCUA could both be out. And OUAZ and Ottawa could be in, or Ottawa and Freed Hardeman, or Freed Hardeman and Morningside, or Columbia and Nelson, or Kaiser and Nelson. Like, there's so many different combinations that you could do. We don't know exactly what they were looking at overall. Last thing, I want to get this over with. We've been on for 90 minutes at this point. Are we taking a team, or are we leaving it open?
Let's go around. Everyone takes a team. Last spot. Robbie, start us off.
I'm going to go OUAZ, man. I think they got the fifth West Coast team in. I think they're going to be, I hate to say politically correct, but I want to say that the West Coast is going to be could be a fifth team in. Something just tells me OUAZ that they'll go in that direction. I could be totally wrong as the Kaiser person. I hope they're in and roll damn birds.
Should we stir it up too, and you can pick a team that you think is definitely out?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So.
Oh, you really want to stir it up?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to hear Tyler's. Tyler can go next. So I'm going to take OUAZ as in, and I've got Connor, Columbia as out.
Go ahead, Norris.
If I'm gonna go next. This is tough because I'm really flip-flopping between Freed and Kaiser, but I think just looking at the quad one, I'm going to give it to Kaiser. So I think Kaiser's in for me. Team that's out, it's going to be Ottawa. I can't justify the strength of schedule being what it is, and only three quad one wins. Kansas. Ottawa, Kansas. Can't justify the strength of schedule for me. It's just too low for what's left in the field. 38 wins, yeah, it looks great, but then, if they want to play recency bias, go 0-2 against two, probably call it bottom half teams in the KCAC this year. I don't see a scenario where they get in. Could be wrong because we're not in that room, obviously, but that would be my team
out. Taylor?
I kind of agree. If I'm going last team in, I'm going to stick with Kaiser. I think Tyler made a great point. Back and forth really between Kaiser and Freed Hardeman too. Both of those teams have really, really strong cases for them and against them as well. I'm still leaning Kaiser, much like Tyler said, the quad one wins really, really stand out. And if you're going to put teams with 6, 7, you're welcome. Quad one wins, you have to put a team with 8 quad one wins in. I think that's what gets Kaiser, and I'm going to take them as my last team in. A team that's for sure out for me, I'm going to go Morningside. I do think that Morningside in the GPAC tournament had a really rough showing. Going 1-2, they won a 1-0 game against Mount Marty. That was an elimination game, and then lost to Dakota Wesleyan twice as well. Late season slide for them ultimately gets them out. They do have a higher strength schedule than a lot of these teams that we're making cases for, but ultimately just kind of the back half, really the last couple of weeks. Don't think they're a deserving team to get in, despite being a really talented club all year long. But I do think Kaiser is going to be my last team in for sure.
Before Connor goes, it's hard for me to just come out and say, yep, Kaiser. That's where I went to school. That's where I coached. Like, I can't just say it. Can't be birds all the time, but it is birds all the time. But Kaiser's got more quad one wins than Johnson, Missouri Baptist, Milligan, Huntington.
Basically
Indiana
everybody
Tech,
besides Louisiana, tied with
Louisiana,
yeah,
Louisiana Christian and Weber. Basically everybody else.
Yeah.
So Connor, go ahead.
Did Taylor give his? He gave his pick and all that. Okay. It's tough. As much as I want to say Columbia, because I'm Columbia diehard. Went to school there, pitched there for 3 years. Roll Cougs, baby. It's tough, and I know I'm probably going to get some fun texts for this. Something with the numbers. It's hard to leave Columbia out, not being they're the regular season champion. It's hard to say they wouldn't make it, but just off of the stats that I'm looking on this right now, I mean, Ottawa, Arizona, they make a good case. 36 wins and having that high of an arc. I mean, it's hard not to lean towards them. I mean, getting a 15 from the West in there. I think I go with Ottawa, Arizona. My heart tells me to pick Columbia. I know I'm going to get a lot of text messages, especially since I got a lot of text messages last year whenever I didn't pick them to win the opening round. But I think Ottawa, Arizona is going to be my pick. A team that I don't think is getting in. I mean, Morningside kind of stands out to me, or Nelson. Nelson's got the 6 quad one wins, so I would probably go Morningside. So I'm gonna take Ottawa, Arizona as my pick. That's the last one in, and then Morningside's probably my first out, or guaranteed not in.
Denny Grubb made a good point that location is not a selection committee standard. It's not. But if we think that that's not something that's discussed in that room from a standpoint, Denny, that's a serious conversation. I'm about as welcome in Lewiston, Idaho, as it is. That's a conversation that's not happening. That you're only going to have 4 teams from the West. I mean, we could be totally wrong on that. There's not a lot of things that are out there, but there's no real precedent for any of this information. But at the same time, we know, just on being on the inside of the inside of the inside, what some of these conversations look like that are not secondhand. And I could see OUAZ getting in. Do I think OUAZ has a body of work? I mean, they're 5th in the West, 36-16, 19-8 in their conference. Was their conference down this year? Yeah, they only went 1-3 against quad one. But they did not have the GSAC tournament that they would have had. I'd feel a lot better about it if they went 1-2 or 2-1 or 2-2 in that tournament. But at the same time, I do think OUAZ could get in. I mean, I didn't think they were getting in a few years ago, and they ended up getting in. So there's that. I mean, we have no precedent for any of this committee criteria. There could be guys in there that are RPI heavy over, and bow chip's terrible. Guys who are bow chip's great, RPI is terrible. RPI is flawed. Bow chip is flawed. Strength of schedule is flawed. I mean, quads could be flawed. I mean, there's different quads for whether you play home, away, or neutral. All of it could be different. The coaches committee no longer has any power. The coaching poll no longer has any power. So none of that matters. You cannot use versus top 25 as your main space of criteria. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens. Where are these locations and who is hosting? Doane, Kansas Wesleyan, GGC, Cumberland's Kentucky, Taylor, LSUS, LCSC, SCU, Bellevue, and Kingsport are all in as host. So Kingsport guys, usually Tennessee Wesleyan could be different this year. Is there a host site outside of Kingsport that you see a team not being the 1 seed in?
That's kind of something we've gone back and forth, really. It's weird to say. I do think Southeastern played their way into a 1, winning the Sun Conference tournament. I do think if it is between either them, Doane, or Kansas Wesleyan for the final one, I feel like it might be Doane. I kind of leaning towards Kansas Wesleyan being a 1 seed as well. I do think those are going to be in some form or fashion 8, 9, and 10 teams in that, which is weird to say too, because all of these teams won their conference tournament championship, Kansas Wesleyan, Doane, and then obviously Southeastern as well. I do think Southeastern might be the one for me that may just be a 2 and end up hosting, but which is weird to say because Southeastern is a team that was a national runner-up last year. Obviously, the run that they've been on, really the last 5-6 seasons, has been really unprecedented. But if I had to pick, I'd probably say Doane, Kansas Wesleyan get the 1, and I would say Southeastern. If we see another one that's a 2 hosting, it would be the Fire.
I don't really know. Not sure. You kind of want to lean Doane. I think it's tough, man. I'd probably say either Doane or Kansas Wesleyan, but then again, I'm not really sure. I mean, we could be looking at one where all these teams are 1s too. That's a possibility.
Which is really never happened either.
Yeah,
and I mean, because if I'm looking at the at-large pool, man, I mean, like the only teams I could see them justifying give them a 1 is probably just Johnson. Maybe Milligan, maybe. I mean, I doubt it, but Johnson's really the only team that comes to mind that I could see them giving an at-large 1 seed to.
Completely agree.
So I'm not really sure where that would fit in. Because, I mean, they could just be going to Kingsport too. You never know. So it doesn't matter. But I don't know. I mean, Johnson's really the only team I think from the at-large pool you could give a 1 seed to, justifyingly. I think Missouri Baptist might, could make a case for that, but I don't think so. I think it'd be Johnson or nobody.
Connor, thoughts?
No, I completely agree. I was texting with a couple of coaches yesterday on, just kind of getting their thoughts, and I was like, did Missouri Baptist do enough in the year? Like, is their full body of work? Are they going to be a 1 seed somewhere? Typically somebody in that area. My Windows security just popped up, if you guys saw that on the stream there. Did they do enough to where they could go get a 1 seed? They send somebody from that area usually to be a 1 seed or a 2 seed somewhere. So I don't know if they did enough to get a 1 seed. Are they going to punish them for not having, the conference tournament that they wanted? I don't know. But I feel pretty good about Johnson. Depending on where they send, I'd say they'd probably send them to Kingsport if I had to put some money on it. I am a betting man, so somebody needs to take me up on that.
Who's going to Lewiston?
Who's going to Lewiston?
Yeah, LCSC is going to be the one there. I kind of like Hope International to go there.
I think Hope will be there.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
I think they'll send a Crossroads. They did send a Sooner team there last year. I think they'll send a Crossroads team there as well.
Okay.
Marion.
I could see a Marion or a Huntington.
That's going to be a 5-teamer. Remember, seeds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all 5-team brackets. Seeds 7, 8, 9, and 10 are 4. Folks, I don't know if we're totally right. I don't know if we're totally wrong. I don't know if we're somewhere in the middle. What I can tell you, it's been fun. The comment section has been actually pretty funny to watch. Y'all are been just barking at each other all day.
It's been great.
As soon as the stats got pulled out, that was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My dad made it.
My dad stats get pulled out. It's not jokes anymore.
Connor Darnell's dad did make an appearance.
My dad made an appearance. I didn't know he had YouTube on his phone. Shout out, Dad, for getting on the stream. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
I think I saw one in there too. It said Connor. There were sources saying that Connor's a frequent visitor to the Horseshoe in Shreveport.
I was.
Saw that in there.
Allegedly.
They know me by name at the Horseshoe. That was one of the best trips I've ever taken. Shout out, Neff. Thank you.
We will be boots on the ground at both Nebraska. And
Connor's driving back and forth to both of them.
Yep.
He's going to be back and forth to both of them.
This is one of the last things I'll say, and then I'll get into my little sheet of paper that I promised I would read.
The secret sheet of paper.
The secret sheet of paper. If you guys have waited. After the sites did get announced, I'd like to shout out Elliot for texting me. He told me I would get all paid expense trip to Lincoln, Nebraska. I politely declined. even though there was an offer to go to the casino on his dime. So thank you, Elliot, but I will have to decline, and we'll try again next year. I did my 2-year sentence in Lincoln, so we might have to move around a little bit. So, yeah.
Runs is calling you back, man.
Hey, you gonna go to Upland?
Hopefully, if I can get it off for work.
There you go.
I
Possible
don't know
boots
about
on the
all
ground in
days,
Upland.
but I'd like to get to Upland at least for one day. It's just going to be dependent on if I can get off for work.
I will say this: we should plan to go live, maybe not on YouTube, but on Spaces for a reaction show tomorrow. I don't know what everybody's work schedule looks like, but we should plan on that. I do plan on it being like, crap. I don't know what's FCC banned or not in here.
Hey, don't get us demonetized.
So yeah, because we're making tons of money doing this.
We can bleep. Don't make me blur.
So I think that I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I think we're going to be somewhere right in the 50 to 65 percentile in correctness, and I think that we are just going to be totally shocked and maybe even outraged over what's going to happen. And I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be fantastic. So looking forward to it. Guys, final thoughts. Taylor, Connor, Tyler. I know, or Connor, please, with your secret sheet of paper, your excitement.
So.
See it.
This is the hottest news in NAIA baseball for the next 24 hours. I'd even say post-selection show, it's going to be the hottest thing in NAIA baseball. I'm going to give at least 30 seconds for people to type in the chat. I want your guesses on what's on this sheet of paper. I just want to build a little bit of anticipation.
I feel good about this.
Let's see. All right. Anyway, so on this piece of paper, I would just like to remind everyone that the team store is still open for at least 24 more hours. So click the link that's in the chat. Support the people. What's the phrase? That's about our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors, by the way. Huge shout out to them. But feel free to go get your merch. It feeds us. Yeah, that's all I got. I can't say what I want to say on here, but feel free to.
It'll fund Connor's next horseshoe trip.
Yep, there we go. We're putting it all on red. So.
And by red, he means Nebraska red in Lincoln. Yeah.
Nothing makes me puke like Nebraska red.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's from the Colorado fan. Nothing. We divert to the two folks just north of Norman. Taylor, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be pissed off with how this happens. I don't think that we're going to go 100%. Although if we do, we need a huge NIL deal from somebody not named Cody Campbell, Robbie. But either way, it's been just an unprecedented year as far as results have gone. I mean, we kind of started that off on opening weekend back in the end of January. It's crazy to sit here and say that we're less than 24 hours from the selection show. I really anticipate the opening round giving us more of the same fireworks that we've seen all season long. It's been great to monitor each week, week in and week out. The conference tournaments have been absolutely wild. I think the endings of the conference tournaments yesterday, specifically the GPAC, kind of were the true definition of how this season has gone up into this point. So I'm excited to get to next week. Obviously, the selection show, get the field finalized, break down each bracket, who's a favorite, who's a sleeper, and here in the end of this month, we're going to be crowning another World Series champion, which is hard to say. So it's the best time of year. I'm excited to get it underway. And for those that tuned in tonight, we thank you. Best of luck to your teams, should you get in or should you not. But I'm excited to see this field and break down the bracket tomorrow night.
Before Connor, do you want to give your final thoughts, maybe on what Tyler just texted us? I don't know.
No, let's leave that out of that. I don't need that on the YouTube. But
all right.
My final thoughts.
Cigar.
Huh? What'd you say?
I told her close, but I told her close, but no cigar.
But my final thoughts are, congrats on everyone that has made it this far on the year, and if you're one of those teams on the bubble, and waiting for their name to be called tomorrow. If you don't, congrats to those seniors that, played their last games and all that, and they're getting their degrees and all that fun stuff. But thank you for being a part of our NAIA ball family. I know Robbie does this spiel at the end of the year, but thank you for being a part of our NAIA ball family, and hope everything goes your way tomorrow. Hopefully you get your team name called, and I'm pumped. I'm super pumped for tomorrow. This is the best time of the year. I can't wait to take a TV into my office at TU so I can watch the opening rounds and then the World Series. So I'm pumped. So bring on 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock Central or 4 o'clock? 4 Central. But I'm pumped. So bring on 4 o'clock. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Really quick couple shout outs to some folks who were watching. Shout out to Tyven, RIP Roxy's, Savior Bradley's, all that good stuff. Long live West Palm. Also to anybody from Cedar Hill, Texas, bring back Cowboys Arlington. So as far as everything else goes, I think that this is the best time of the year. We're going to enter the best time of the year. It's the most fun for us. It's where everything is live or die. That really starts in the conference tournament, and when we see some incredible things happen. And I love to see it. I love to see it. It's the best part. When Cody started NAIA ball and then brought me in a year later, this is the whole reason why we wanted to do it. It was to have these conversations on, all of this stuff with, just doing this. We didn't want to do this the first year. We did it the second year. He thought it was insane, and then he saw the reaction, and it got people going, and that's why we do it. And that's why we do it. We love to hear y'all's thoughts when they're sensible, and it's one of those things that it's really, really, really great information, and we can't thank y'all enough for being part of this family and doing this. Whether you're on a burner account, or we actually know you by name, or if we try to log into your burner account and figure out where you're at and who you are. But we really, really appreciate y'all and everything that y'all do in helping keep us afloat. We don't do this for money. We don't make any money. We do this for love of the game, and we do this because we love NAIA ball, and we love to do this for the legacy and life of Cody Butler. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. And if it wasn't for Cody, and if it wasn't for what Cody did, I wouldn't be doing this still. Connor and Taylor and Tyler know the inside workings of it, and it wouldn't be the same. So, it's that. And while I got a chance, it's a great opportunity for us to really take a look at just some of the things that we're able to do. We're going to have reaction tomorrow. We're going to have reaction tomorrow to the selection show. We're going to see really, really quickly if it is something that how close we are and just the craziness of it all. And then we'll have an opening round preview, and then it'll be nightly reactions every single night during the opening round tournament. For every single tournament game, we're going to go over all of it. It's going to be a nightly thing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even some into Thursday if we get there. Then the World Series starts. We're going to have reactions every single day of the World Series, especially those first couple of days where it's really jam-packed. And while I'm on this, long live Don Walden as well, who was a great friend of the brand, as well as sports editor over at the Lewiston Tribune. A huge helper of ours when we weren't allowed to speak up for ourselves out that way. So, Don Walden passed away several years ago, and we do not really, really, really think about just the impact that he had, especially in a couple years there that were really tough. So that will do it for us there. That'll be it for us here tonight. Can't wait to talk about the reaction show tomorrow. We can't wait to go over with y'all just kind of what y'all are, what we're looking at and just what it looks like overall. So until next time, thanks y'all for joining us. We hope you have a great day and even better tomorrow.